right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Eco School's Our Power, Our Planet, Youth for the Environment. My name is Joe Grabowski from Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, and I'll be your host for today. I want to start off by wishing everybody a happy Earth Week. I hope everyone had a great Earth Day yesterday as well. And thank you so much for joining us today. Today, our plan is to learn how to advocate for the environment through school projects, community action, and local petitions. To do this, we're going to spend some time with young environmental leaders and innovative organizations. Our goal is to leave you with practical ways to speak up, to organize, and to take meaningful action for environmental issues that matter most to you. And so I know we have a great audience tuning in via YouTube today. So we want to make sure you're not shy to chime in and be a part of today's event. Let us know where you're tuning in from in the live chat. And then as we're meeting our speakers today, put your questions into the chat, any questions that come to your mind. And at the end, we're going to have a little Q&A session. And we'd love to have those questions handy and ready to go. So I think we're going to have a great session today. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to meeting our speakers today. We had a fun session just a few minutes ago, getting ready backstage. And I think we've got a good one coming up ahead here for us. And we're really looking forward to the questions that come after today's conversation. So I'm going to reach backstage right now. We're going to get someone else in here with me. I've got Ryan from Eco Schools Canada hanging out. I'm going to get Ryan in here with me right now. Hey, Ryan, how are you? Oh, Ryan, grab the mic for me. Ryan, if you can hear me, you're on mute right now, Ryan.
Rookie mistake. Thank you, Joe.
Okay. All right, we gotcha.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Eco Schools Canada Earth Week event. My name is Ryan, and I'm so happy to join you today. Bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue à l'événement de la Semaine de la Terre d'Éco-École Canada. Je suis Ryan et j'ai le plaisir d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui. Je dirai d'abord quelques mots en anglais, puis en français. I will speak first in English and then in French. I hope you are all enjoying the changing of the seasons with signs of spring everywhere these days. This year, we had a record number of schools join our program, and eco teams like yours have led community cleanups, planted gardens, and so much more, helping to make your communities greener, cleaner, and more sustainable. Today, we are so excited to hear from some fantastic speakers who will share stories of how they are using their voices, their energy, and their hearts to make the world a better place. Making change is not just for adults. As young environmental leaders, you too have the power to make an enormous impact at your school and in your community. Students in our program have helped create safe streets without cars in front of their school, banned single-use plastic, and even persuaded their school board leaders to approve a climate action plan. We would love to hear what your eco team has accomplished this year, so feel free to share your story in our YouTube chat. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy the event. J'espère que vous profitez tous de changements de saison. Le printemps étant partout ces jours-ci. Cette année, un nombre record d'écoles ont participé au programme Éco-École et des éco-équipes comme la vôtre ont organisé des opérations de nettoyage communautaire, aménagé des jardins et bien plus encore, contribuant ainsi à rendre vos communautés plus vertes, plus propres et plus durables. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes ravis d'avoir des personnes exceptionnelles qui partageront leur expérience, leur voix et leur énergie pour faire bouger les choses. Agir pour le changement n'est pas réservé aux adultes. Vous avez aussi le pouvoir d'avoir un impact considérable dans votre communauté scolaire. Les élèves de notre programme ont contribué à créer des rues sécurisées sans voiture devant leur école, à interdire le plastique à usage unique et à pousser leur conseil scolaire à adopter un plan climatique. Nous serions ravis d'entendre ce que vous avez accompli cette année. N'hésitez pas à partager votre histoire dans le clavardage de notre chaîne YouTube. Merci à toutes et à tous, et bon événement. Over to you, Joe.
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan. We're going to get right into some action now. We're going to bring our first speaker in. Really excited to welcome Karishma Porwal with us. She brings environmental issues to life through engaging, accessible content through her work as a sustainability storyteller, climate educator, and communications expert. She's collaborated with major media outlets, including CBC and CTV, and her work has earned her the 2024 Canadian Youth Eco Hero Award. So let's grab Krishma from backstage. There we go. Hi, Krishma. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me, everyone.
All right. Well, great to have you with us today. I'm going to make you full screen and we're going to let you take over for a bit.
Okay. Happy Earth Week, everyone. I'm really, really happy to be here to be able to talk to you all about how young people can get involved with changing their futures, right? Because when it comes to climate change, I think with young people, it's your future that's on the line the most, and you also have the power to create the kind of world that you want to grow up in. And I think that that's really quite fascinating and charming. I myself started out as an environmentalist quite young. Actually, for as long as I can remember, I was putting up Save the Turtles posters in my own home, where it was only my parents that would see them in the hallway, but I did it anyway. I think what really mattered for me when I first started was finding out what pocket of sort of the environmental world really speaks to your heart the most, right? There's lots of different issues because climate change and taking care of our planet is a really, really big sort of box, and you got to pick your corner in that box and what speaks to you the most. Maybe you really care about animals. Maybe you really care about seeing litter and plastic pollution on the streets. Maybe you really care about keeping our forests intact. Maybe you really care about clean water, rivers, oceans. I mean, Canada is such a big country. What does your backyard look like? You know, you can let me know in the chat if you want. What does your backyard look like? What is it that you really care about? Because we as people, it can be really difficult to care about multiple things at the same time. And while we can, it can sometimes wear on us, and we don't always have enough energy or enough hours in the day to put towards all of those things. So I think it's really important to dig deep and ask yourself, what's your place, right? And what are you good at? Because all of us are really good at something. We can't be good at everything, but all of us are really, really good at something. For me, it's telling stories, and that's what I do. I make videos online, I write essays to tell stories about the climate crisis. There's other people that are really good at getting people together and getting them energized about something. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're someone who's really good with people. Maybe you're an artist. Maybe you're a musician. Maybe you're someone who's really good at building things, or maybe you're someone that's really good at researching things, right? I think that once you figure out what it is that you're really good at, then you can take this next steps into understanding what your place is in taking care of the environment. School is a really great place to do that because you have so many opportunities to explore what it is you're good at as well, right? In the introduction, Joe, Ryan, we talked about how you've organized safe streets, some of you out there, banning single-use plastics. It really depends on which one of these issues really speaks to you the most. Once you understand what that is, then we can get into understanding how we can advocate for these issues, right? And I'm just going to give some general tips because, of course, I don't know where it is again that your heart lies if you're listening to this. But I think it starts with understanding who has the power to actually push the buttons and pull the levers to make change. And that might be, for you, might be people on your board of directors at school, your teachers. But if you go beyond school, maybe you're looking at the mayor of your city or your elected officials. So this is the people that you'll go and vote for eventually when you reach voting age. So your MPs, your member of parliament, or your member of provincial parliaments, which of course are two different government folks that represent you. Now, once you get older, you get a job, your taxes will go towards paying those people's salaries. So it's really important to get involved and understand who are they and what difference can they make for me and my community. So I think starting to advocate and talking to the people that, again, can push the buttons is really, really important. I can give you a little story here. Not last year, in 2023, when I lived in Kitchener, we had a bus that would run at night. So we called it the night bus. It was route number 91. And it was a bus that would get people that were out late at night home safely. So this could be people that were working at hospitals, like nurses, or people that were working late at restaurants, or anybody that was out at night, because of course the city doesn't go to sleep at night and not everybody has a car that they can drive home. Some of you may be too young to get your license right now, so you sort of know what that's like. Maybe some of you already rely on public transportation or your school bus or other sorts of ways of getting around because you don't drive, right? So that night bus was on the chopping block. They were going to cut the night bus, they were going to cancel it and say, sorry, we don't have enough money. And when I say they, I mean our city council. These are the people that push the buttons. However, like I said before, these people are voted in by the folks that live in the city. So that was me. What we did, we went to City Hall. City Hall is where all of these elected officials, these government representatives, city councilors, they'll come and they'll meet and talk about these things and make decisions. However, people that live in the city, like you and I, are welcome to go to these meetings and make our voices heard. That's exactly what we did. And it wasn't just adults that went, it was kids, people that were going to school as well. We had children come up to the mic and tell their story about why the night bus mattered to them. We had parents come and talk about why the night bus mattered to them. It made them feel safer. It made them feel like they weren't always relying upon a car or a taxi to get home. And guess what happened? That actually was able to convince the people that push the buttons, our mayor and our councilors, to say, you know what? We're not going to cancel the night bus because there's a lot of people that actually depend on it. So that's just a little good news story about how people's voices, but also young people's voices matter so much when it comes to making decisions that are good for the planet. And of course, public transit and buses are good for the planet because it gets cars off the road, and cars are quite polluting. They make our air a little dirtier to breathe, and they make our streets less safe, as you all know. We got the bus back, and that made a little difference. And I think when we think about what's happening in the planet, you can't go clean up a whole ocean, no matter how badly you might want to. But you can make a difference in your own community. I heard that some of you have been hosting community litter cleanups. And that's again, like you're cleaning up your little corner of your community. And if we all do that in our own little pockets of the world, then the entire world can be made a better place. Are there any questions so far? I can't see my chat or the YouTube chat, but maybe we can leave them to the end.
Oh, nothing yet. We're going to leave those till the end, Krishma.
Okay. I don't want to go over time, so I'll wrap up a little bit. I wanted to tell you all about a campaign that I have been made aware of called Vote 16. Some of you might be approaching the age of 16, some of you might be younger, some of you might be older than that, but it's a campaign to lower the age of voting in Canada down to 16 from 18. And I think that might be something a lot of you might be interested in. There's a lot of children already involved. There's a lot of young people already involved trying to make the law such that we can vote at a younger age. Because guess what? These people that are pushing the buttons, their decisions affect you whether you're 18 or 17 or 16. So maybe that's something, if you care about making your voice heard in a way that's beyond just speaking to your elected officials, but you actually want to represent your opinions on a voting card, like you want to be able to go with your parents and vote at a younger age because, of course, their decisions affect you. Vote 16 might be a campaign that you're interested in. You can make lots of cool friends through environmental campaigns. I know I have. In fact, most of my best friends are from these sort of eco campaigns that I've been a part of, and I've been able to find community and also make some change. So it's been a great way to use my energy and also grow my circle of friends as well. So I wanted to also put that out there on the table. Vote 16, they're pretty cool. There's some people doing some work already on that out in Manitoba. I don't know if anybody is out in Manitoba and knows about it, but that's something that you can also get involved with. And then the last thing I wanted to talk to you about are citizen science programs. And I know I only have a little bit of time left, so I don't want to flood you with anything. But if you like getting outside and just observing things, if you like looking at birds or animals or fish, then citizen science programs are a really cool way of using your observational skills and your interest in the outside world for good. You can help with things like salmon counting. You can help with things like spotting species that scientists are on the lookout for. And I can send through an email to Joe and Ryan, and they can maybe disseminate some citizen science programs that you can be a part of. And what that would do, it would just make your walk outside. If you take walks outside in nature, it would make that mean something on a scientific level and might actually help get some plants and animals better protections that they need. So that's my little 2 cents about how you can make a difference as a young person. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm obviously going to stay till the Q&A. But yeah, I'll wrap it up there.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Karishma. I'm going to tuck you backstage right now, but I think we're going to want to know more about that Vote 16 project. That sounds really cool. So I have a feeling we might go in that direction. We'll see what comes into the chat Q&A wise. Okay, let's bring our next speaker in here with us. So we have Emily Hunter joining us. She's an environmentalist, a storyteller, an author, and a strategist. She's working as a senior program manager at Environmental Defence Canada. She's worked with leading organizations, including Greenpeace, Sea Shepherd, and 350.org, and is the author of The Next Eco Warriors. She also appeared in films like Revolution and How to Change the World. Let me grab Emily in here from backstage. There she is. Awesome, Emily. Revolution. I've got a poster back there. It's a great movie. Oh, can you grab your mic for me, Emily?
Hi. Yes, I saw that. I saw your poster. That's great coincidence. Yeah. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to Eco Schools Canada for hosting this, and thank you to all of you for tuning in. I'm going to just try to share my slides here if I can. I've got a little bit of a visual aid to go with what I'm going to say. So bear with me for 1 second as I get the tech working. Okay, 1 second, everybody. Sorry. We'll be there in just a sec.
No worries. The tech always takes a second to kick in. I can see it loading backstage. And there we go.
Yeah, you can see it?
Looks good.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, everybody, so much. All right, so I'm just so thrilled to be here with you all today. Earth Week and Earth Day is one of my favorite times of the year. Yes, I'm an environmentalist, but it's a great time to just take a pause, celebrate this incredible planet we call home, and remind ourselves that we have the power to shape its future. Now, I want to ask you something right off the top. You don't have to answer. I know you can't answer on YouTube, but just think about it. When you hear the word activist or change maker, what comes to mind? Just think about that for a second. Now, oftentimes when we think about these terms, we think about protesting, around signs and, something in the headline news, or maybe even issues that come up around the election, right? And voting. Now, I want to say that I've actually witnessed something very different in my last 20 years of being an environmentalist and in documenting the environmental movement. I've realized that activism isn't kind of the traditional things we think about as activism. In fact, it's so many things, and it's also something entirely different for you. So sort of what Karishma was also saying, it's something that's unique to you and what you want to make out of it. So it's really about a transformation, is how I think about it. It's an act of transforming from something that was to something that could be, by opening up space for possibility of a new world and helping to create that new world. So today I want to talk to you about change making and what it really looks like, who gets to do it, and why I believe that many of you are already part of this transformation, whether you call yourself an activist or change maker or you don't. Oh, yes. So this is some of the many faces that I've gotten to meet, many activists and change makers I've gotten to meet over the years, and they come from all parts of the world and creating change in all many, many ways. And I'm going to share some of those stories with you today. But first, before I do, I want you to just take a minute and try to picture this. Imagine you're floating on a small inflatable boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, just off the coast of Vancouver. And you're staring up, way, way, way up, at a 300-foot tall oil drilling rig called the Polar Pioneer. This, on the left, is Shell's floating oil rig, and it's heading north to Alaska to begin offshore drilling in the Arctic to drill for more oil. This thing is massive. It's attached to 2 enormous tugboats. Enormous amounts of energy and money went into getting this up north. And this is all for getting more oil for our cars, our trucks, our airplanes, plastics, many of the engines that surround us in society. Then imagine yourself there floating on a small boat just beneath this photo. You can't see it, but you're floating on a small boat. And you're part of a team trying to stop this. Your role is to take this photo, trying not to get seasick out there in big, huge waves hitting you, as you're in a tiny little boat taking the social media photos or the videos of an amazing Indigenous activist and artist named Audrey Siegel, who's standing there face to face with Shell's oil drilling rig. So this is part of a Greenpeace action to try to stop offshore oil emissions like this and make the world aware of what's happening. Now, this is what I was doing in 2015, over 11 years ago. I've been a climate and environmental activist for over 20 years, and this was one of many actions that I got to be a part of, where I witnessed small groups of thoughtful, committed people, and mostly young people, coming together to try to change the world and try to change the direction that we're headed in for the better. But I want to take you back, because my journey into change making didn't start on this inflatable boat in the Pacific Ocean, and yours doesn't have to start there either. So a little bit about myself. My name is Emily Hunter. I'm there on the right, and I grew up with environmentalism in my family. My father is there on the left. He was the first president of Greenpeace, and both my parents were involved in forming Greenpeace back in 1971 here in Canada. Now, for those that don't know what Greenpeace is, that's okay. It was a small hippie group that formed in Vancouver here in Canada, but whose ideas rapidly spread around the world. It became one of the biggest global networks of environmental organizations around the world, with a presence in over 55 countries and over 3 million supporters, 10 million online, and it was one of the earliest groups to use digital tools for advocacy globally. So yeah, I kind of grew up with a front row seat to this, of what the beginning environmentalism looked like in the 70s to how it evolved and took shape in the 21st century through my parents' story and my own. But here's the thing. I didn't inherit a perfect roadmap. I was never told some hidden secrets to activism or some special recipe that somehow changed the world. I had to find out for myself and in my own way. So for many, many years, I documented the youth environmental and climate movements for a book I called The Next Eco Warriors. I produced and directed short environmental films on MTV and TVO, and showed many of these films nationally and internationally. And I got to meet so many young leaders all over the world and right here in my own neighborhoods and communities across Canada. There are people launching global work parties where they actually got to work themselves in communities on climate solutions, like building flood dikes or renewable energy installations in their neighborhood. I got to meet people who were founding centers called the Tool Libraries and sharing libraries, where tools, tents, and one-time use items could be shared, reducing consumption overall and building community in these kind of micro-sharing economies. There were also inventors who were trying to solve the global waste crisis in our oceans with their global ocean cleanup project. And there are artivists, people who use art to help spark change through conversation, awareness changing, and changing people's minds on environmental and climate justice issues. And there are environmental justice warriors who were rehabilitating the land and connecting schools with food sovereignty by teaching the skills of community gardens to youth. And here's what blew my mind about most of it. A lot of them didn't even call themselves activists. They were just doing the things that they cared about, using the skills they had, showing up in the way that made sense for them. So this brings me all back to my original question. What does it mean to be a change maker or an activist today in a rapidly changing world? Well, like I said before, and what Karishma was also sharing, is activism isn't just one thing. It never really was. It's as diverse and creative and multiple as the people doing it. So I want to share these kind of key 4 practical ways you can drive change. There are many, many other ways you can do it, and whatever makes sense to you with your passions, your skills, your talents, then that's the best way for you. But here's like 4 common ways. Oops, excuse me. Okay, first is speaking. So speaking up at, say, your municipal council. So like, who has the power? So like, did you know that most Canadian communities and city councils and municipalities, you can actually delegate at that council meeting? You don't need to work for environmental defense. You don't need to work for some big organization. An individual can come up. You can literally walk up that day in many cases, and you can sign up and speak for 5 minutes about the issue you care about. You know, ideally needs to be tied to an agenda item, but you do have the power to actually walk up to council and speak up. and youth voices are urgently needed and often missing in these spaces. Council pays attention when young people show up and speak their voice. I've seen it time and time again in my work, and so you really have power there and you can use it. There's also innovating. So if you're into science or engineering or math, you can explore new and innovative solutions or existing solutions around renewable energy, battery storage, nature-based climate solutions. It's about building something, inventing something, testing it. That can be activism. There's also creating, such as what I was showing you before about artivism. So you can use art, music, performance. I've met creative types who've used performance to make an issue known, like a woman who painted herself and added giant wings and then sat there at a 30-foot high tripod blocking a logging road in Tasmania to protect the forests. She made front page news and helped to shift the consciousness in that area around deforestation. So creativity can be used to help spark change. And then the storytelling and documenting. This is a huge one. And Krishma was alluding to that as well of her work. And yeah, we live in our lives according to the stories we tell ourselves. So if you can tell a better story, a story about what's possible, about who we are, about what kind of future we want and what you care about, you can change the world that way. Journalism, filmmaking, social media, podcasting, writing, all of it, that can be activism. So here's the truth. Whatever your talent, your skills, your passion, there's a version of activism with your name on it, if you so choose. Whether or not you call yourself an activist doesn't even matter. What matters more is an invitation that every day we're invited to make positive change in the world through our actions in our schools, our neighborhoods, our communities, or at city council in small, medium, and large ways. But I get it. You're probably thinking right now, like, that's cool, Emily, but like that all sounds great, but like how do we actually do that? Okay, so here I'm going to get practical. Here's sort of my 10 top tips for change making. But of course, it's your journey. You can figure it out and like do what feels best for you. But these are some common things we do see in change making campaigns, and whatever order makes sense for you, you can take on. But I always say, like, find your community first. Doing it alone is really can be very hard. You can do it alone, but it can be harder. So finding your community, finding your people is really, really helpful. So whether that's an eco-schools group or your own community group, whether it's your group of friends, whatever it can be. Number 2, so obviously identifying the problem. So agreeing on what issue we want to tackle, whether that's a climate change issue, renewable energy, a plastic or waste issue, or clean drinking water. The next, you have to research it, like really dig deep and gather evidence-based information about the issue. So sorry, not really AI or social media, but really learning and reading about the issue from like original sources is ideal. Then talking to experts, finding the experts locally to find about what also the local solutions could be, whether that's your teacher, your parent, or maybe a special extra guest speaker that comes in. Now, strategy, the how. And Krishna was also speaking to this. So yeah, it's really important, the how. How will you drive change in this issue? So this includes about figuring out who has the power on the issue and how can you pull the levers with that decision maker. So maybe that's working with your school council and fundraising for solar panels on your school, or speaking at city council about plastic waste. Whatever that may be, you've got to figure out the how you drive change and who has the power and who has the levers. Now, team roles, this is important. Every team member should have a unique role to play and nobody should be really left out. And it can be anything you want it to be, researching, social media posts, being the one to speak up, whatever it might be. But meetings are also important. This is really the glue of your team. You have to meet regularly, whether that's virtual or in person, but keep checking in. That's going to keep you sustained over the long term. But also knowing your goals, knowing what's realistic, and having the short, medium, and long-term goals. And my favorite part is celebrating. I love to celebrate. Anybody knows me. I want to celebrate all the time, small, medium, and large celebrations. So any tiny little win you got, even if it's just like, the principal's now talking about your issue, great. Like celebrate, go out for lunch, whatever it's going to be, have a mini party, whatever it's going to be. Now, but here's my number 1, even though it's called number 10, it's actually my number 1, is showing up. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to show up. That's it. That's the secret I've really learned, is showing up. Trying something, seeing what happens, even if you fail, then adjust and try again. And show up in whatever way that makes sense for you. Coming to an in-person meeting, coming to a virtual meeting, joining a public event, joining a webinar to learn more. joining your school group, your eco schools group, whatever that's going to be. It's showing up, and keep showing up as much as you can. And we know we all have sick days, but like, show up as much as you can. Like, that's the biggest secret ingredient. Okay, so I want to bring it back to where we started on transformations. So just like a caterpillar doesn't know it's becoming a butterfly, our world is in the middle of a great change, a metamorphosis, if you will, a change of our energy systems, our economies, our culture, and even our politics. And what it means to take change in this changing world is even transforming. But here's the beautiful thing. You get to choose. Okay? You get to choose to be part of this transformation. You get to choose your life, your talent, and your voice to drive positive change for the people on the planet. You don't have to call yourself an activist. You don't have to fit into anyone's box. You don't have to do it the way I did it or the way anyone else did it. You just get to choose. You can choose to care, choose to learn about an issue, choose to act, choose to show up in whatever way that makes sense for you. But this can be an exciting time of transformation for our world. And I hope you'll accept the invitation to be part of this positive change ahead. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Emily. A great message to leave things off on, and a great presentation. I love those tips and showing up. That's a pretty darn good one. Thanks, Emily. So before we bring in our next speakers, I know that the chat isn't working correctly on the YouTube stream on the Eco Schools Canada page. So I do have an alternative. If you have some questions and you've been unable to submit your questions, I'm going to share my screen here really quickly, and I'm going to put up a QR code. So if you, let's see. Oops, let me bring that back up. So if you want to submit a question and you're unable to use the chat, use this QR code. Scan this QR code now. It'll bring you to a Padlet, and on that Padlet, you'll be able to put in some questions. So I'll be able to see those questions come in on the Padlet, and then I will be able to relay some of them when the Q&A time comes. There is a link as well. It's a bit longer, so you might want to take a screen grab of this if you do want to try and use the link itself. So it's padlet.com, then Joe Grabowski Explore /Q for questions. So I will put those up a couple times during the rest of our time together, just to make sure that we can get some of those Q&A times in. And I'll put this up again when the Q&A time does get started. So there you go. If you can snap a quick shot of that, you can get some of your questions in to us. So let us jump into our final speakers for today. So we're going to have EcoVision join us. It is a student-run club at Lacombe Composite High School in Alberta, whose goal is to build ecological leaders through projects that enhance students' education, help the environment, and encourage community collaboration. It has student-led projects that include just a crazy variety. I only listed a few here because the list just goes on and on. A 6.0 kilowatt solar array, a near net zero tropical geodesic greenhouse, a bee apiary. That's just a small sample of some of the projects. So joining us today, we have Mr. S, we have Tegan, we've got Brock and Alexis. Let me bring them in from backstage right now. There we go. Hey team, how are we doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having us.
All right, excellent. Well, it's great to have you live with us today. I'm going to let you get your presentation pulled up and shared, and then the floor will be yours for a while.
Okay, thank you. Oops. Oh. Okay. Welcome to our wonderful presentation. My name is Brock. I am a grade 13 student. I've been involved with our school's EcoVision Club for over 2.5 years. We harvest herbs weekly, and I am a dedicated advocate for the environment. I have taken 2 child manifestos to 2 separate United Nations conferences.
And I'm Alexis. I'm a grade 11 student who joined EcoVision 3 months ago, I believe. I contribute to the weekly harvest and have a strong passion for bees and our pollinators' health. I just presented my first beekeeping workshop to 10 adults yesterday during our Earth Day activities.
And my name's T, and I'm in grade 8, who has been a part of EcoVision for 8 months now. And I help with the weekly herb harvest for the local restaurants. And I'm deeply passionate about nature and hope to write a biodiversity declaration and present it to the United Nations conference in Armenia this year. We acknowledge that we are in Treaty 6 territory, and we recognize all the many First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and non-First Nations whose footsteps have marked these lands. As long as the sun shines and the river flows and the grass grows, we are all treaty peoples.
So here's a little overview of some of the stuff we have at our school. So the vision here is that we need, for all of our projects, it needs to be sustainable and self-supporting. And over the last 20 years, EcoVision has integrated these 5 projects designed to improve the environment, enhance educational opportunities, and collaborate with the community. Those are our 3 pillars. The first one you see on the left is our carbon neutral greenhouse. It has a 365-day growing season, so it runs all year round using 3 renewable energy systems, including a geothermal climate battery, solar power, and solar heating. And I was a part of the 20 credit green certificate greenhouse program. We also have an aquaponic system inside the greenhouse where we raise 300 plus tilapia with their waste to be reused to produce healthy organic fruits and veggies. The system uses 80% less water than traditional soil farming through continuous recycling.
Then we have the goat barn. In 2020, EcoVision students repurposed a shipping container for the 6 baby goats we have. The goat barn has a green roof that provides nature insulation and hosts 26 native plants that were sacred to our indigenous peoples. I hope to be a part of this program when I'm in the high school.
For beekeeping, we have honeybees, which produce honey and beeswax while pollinating our fruit trees and gardens. We have a program which features a solitary bee hotel to support our native species, as well as we have a beekeeping class in our school with about 20 students this year, including me. We also have a 2-acre forest farm. Surrounding our bees is a food forest with over 175 fruit trees and bushes and 50 raised beds. The system uses a smart drip irrigation system, reducing water use. But overall, this is EcoVision and what it provides. It proves the integrated high-tech agriculture systems can harmonize food production with environmental stewardship. Next, we have our Bee Wise. So students discovered that bee populations around the world were declining due to pesticides and climate change. Recognizing that bees are essential pollinators for flowers and food crops and producers of honey, they knew action was needed. So a group of 5 students began researching local and honey bees while fundraising to support their idea. From this, the Bee Wise project was born. Students presented their vision to the city of Lacombe, helping introduce bee-friendly bylaws and launching a student-led urban beekeeping pilot program. They also presented to the school board, leading to our school becoming the first in Canada to offer beekeeping for academic credit.
Go. So these are 2 of the programs that I've been a part of regarding the environment in the past. The CGE stands for Center for Global Education. This group is a Canadian charitable organization focused on transformative global learning. The mission is to empower youth to become agents of change by connecting them directly to global issues and decision-making stages like the United Nations. Education Nature Nexus is CGE's flagship biodiversity initiative. It is the world's largest school-based nature education program, connecting classrooms in over 80 countries that I got to work with. The output was that students got to collaborate and co-author the Global Child Biodiversity Declaration, a document presented directly to world leaders at the UN biodiversity conferences called COP. We have 3 core pillars of Education Nature Nexus. Number 1 is resilience, protecting schools from climate disasters, building climate resilient infrastructure so that schools remain safe havens for children during environmental crises. The second pillar is agency, using education to protect nature, equipping students with the green skills, values, and critical thinking needed to take meaningful action, like the LCHS EcoVision projects and lead the transition to a sustainable economy. And the third and final pillar is well-being, nature as a teacher, integrating nature directly into the daily school experience to improve academic performance and emotional resilience, like LCHS's greenhouse, goats, and bee programs. So this is COP16, one of the events that I got to go to. So COP stands for the Conference of the Parties. It is the main decision-making body of the Convention on Biological Diversity, created at the 1992 Earth Summit. COP17 will be held through October 19th to 30th this year in Yerevan, Armenia. I hope I pronounced that right. Under the slogan, Taking Action for Nature, this conference will focus on reviewing global progress in implementing the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. Our school is planning on sending 2 students to represent youth from Western Canada. So, why was I there? The picture is me in Cali, Colombia during COP16. I was selected to go because I wanted to be an active agent of change. We were in Cali to present the Biodiversity Declaration that we just talked about. I'll just slow down a bit. The declaration has and will shape policies that will build a more just and sustainable world with the help of my generation, our generation. When youth are included in decision making, we bring fresh perspectives, new ideas, and innovative solutions. We also stand in support of Indigenous voices and knowledge. Indigenous communities have protected biodiversity for generations, and by combining traditional wisdom with science, we can create stronger, more effective conservation efforts. We believe that real change happens through collaboration. By working together with governments, businesses, and organizations like EcoSchools Canada, we can build networks that empower youth to lead projects like the ones I have been part of with EcoVision. Please feel free to scan the QR code if you want a copy of our biodiversity declaration. It's definitely worth the read. The next slides highlight the 6 declarations that CGE youth of the world came up with. Feel free to pick out your favorite declaration and be ready to share it with us through the chat.
So the first one is government policies. We urge governments to join the Global Plan of Action for Biodiversity Education and commit to strong environmental education in their national biodiversity strategies and action plans, ensuring a legal right for all children everywhere to receive high-quality environmental education.
Number 2 is spiritualized. We call for the transformation in education that prioritizes hands-on experience and connects us to nature.
Next is the Indigenous perspective. We advocate for the combination of scientific knowledge and traditional Indigenous wisdom to create more effective ways of protecting our environment and ensuring thriving global biodiversity for the future. My government must work with Indigenous groups.
Number 4 is community engagement. We call for community collaboration that allows the sharing of knowledge and resources to make a greater impact on our conversation. I am worried about biodiversity loss in our country.
Number 5 is funding solutions. We advocate for tangible actions that will ensure funding for biodiversity education within our schools and community centers, particularly in underserved communities. And number 6 is probably going to be the last one. So number 6 is awareness campaigns. We recognize the necessity of leveraging advocacy and awareness campaigns to engage in biodiversity discussions and to inspire environmental action. This is arguably one of the most important ones, because if people are not aware of this stuff, how are you going to advocate for it if you don't know what it is? So another thing, let us know what your favorite declaration is in the chat if you want. So this is another trip that I went on, which was attending Canada's National Framework for Environmental Learning through March 18th to 19th to provide a youth perspective and to demonstrate to the attendees what has been done at our school through our EcoVision Club. The forum showcased organizations and learning platforms like EcoSchools Canada that could be used to learn about and create a more sustainable environment in our schools and communities.
Focuses of the natural framework. Refunding the framework. The National Framework for Environmental Learning established educational standards that were grounded in the real world practice. Cross-sector collaboration. We work alongside governments, NGOs, and other youth leaders to ensure environmental education ideas were well supported. Research and best practices. By sharing research and finds from our projects, we help create a toolkit of the best practices from school across the country. Collective impact. There was an infinite effort that benefited both people and the planet through shared improvisation and strong partnerships.
Why does environmental education matter? Addressing the triple crisis, like projects like EcoVision, directly combat the three biggest threats to our planet. Sorry, I just lost where I was. So climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. The second one is empowering youth. This isn't just about plants. It's about giving students the leadership skills and technical knowledge to innovate in a changing world. The third one is green career paths. We are preparing students for the future economy by providing hands-on experience in renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and conservation. And number 4 is global leadership. Our work aligns with UNESCO Greening Education Partnership and the UN Sustainable Development Goals, proving that local action leads to a just and sustainable future.
What can schools in Canada do? 1. Participate in EcoSchools Canada program. 2. Join local, provincial, and national programs like Battle River Watershed, Inside Education Center from Global Education. 3. Form an environmental club with like-minded students and teachers. 4. Create small actions like reducing car use, saving water, and eating sustainability. 5. Support eco-friendly businesses like Climate and Cilantro and Hive restaurants in Lacombe. 6. Dream about solutions and environmental issues in our school. 7. Take advantage of opportunities when they arise.
To conclude, protecting our Earth is a shared responsibility between governments, communities, schools, and individuals. The choices we make today will shape the planet's tomorrow. Act now to maintain a cleaner, healthier, and life-sustaining Earth, especially for the future generations to come.
You're gonna watch the video.
Okay, lovely. All right, that is our slide. We are going to now show off a video that we have for you guys.
I was teaching in my classroom over here, and the fire alarm goes off. Someone in my class goes, "Oh, the roof is on fire, the roof is on fire." Then I began to realize that where our solar panels were is where the fire was. And just hung my head, because I knew exactly what was happening was a project that we had spent 3 years and $45,000 using, they're all in flames. And then I thought, EcoVision's over. Slowly, the group of 10 students at the time gathered around me at the center circle, and I looked up and I saw tears just running down their faces. Young people care about their environment. They care about their world. And in my heart, I knew that my job wasn't done. Today we are in sunny, beautiful Lacombe Composite High School. So EcoVision is project-based education. So we allow students to dream big dreams and then do research on those dreams and then put those dreams into reality. We have 3 pillars that we follow. All our projects must be student-led and must be environmental, educational, and collaborate with the community. So far we have our solar panels. We have reduced 56 gigatons of carbon in the 11 years that we've had our solar panels. We then had a greenhouse project where we built a geodesic net zero tropical greenhouse. It's there to inspire others. So far to date, we've inspired 5 other middle schools or high schools to build one of these. And then we have a beeping program where my students actually teach the public how to raise bees properly, and they can't get a license until they take that course. And then our 4th one is our gardens, and that's to teach people that you can grow your own food and it can be organic and healthy and sustainable. And finally, we built a goat barn that is self-sufficient, insulated, but also can be used for education purposes. The benefits of taking the courses that have been developed through our EcoVision program are immense. It allows students to get in touch with their outdoors and with nature. It also provides them an avenue to develop very unique skill set. Thirdly, it provides incredible leadership opportunities for our students that they wouldn't otherwise have.
It's a really hands-on learning experience. So not only am I learning a lot about kind of what I want to do with my future, which is probably something based. So I'm learning for that. I'm widening my skill set just in general with outside stuff. And it's really easy to learn when it's so involved and stuff like that.
These courses, you learn a lot, and it's nice to know things so then when people ask questions, you can hop in there and use what you've learned and put it into there, and then eventually bring it into your lifestyle or how you want to live. I was half in it just for the credits, but now it's like really exciting to learn more about it, and it's fun to actually go out and see our goats and take care of them and learn.
After the fire, there were both students on both sides, students that were crying and students that were cheering, that both said, I want to be part of a solution. And so they started thinking and dreaming, and we came up with a theme, out of the ashes we will rise. And so my students came back to me and said, we need to build a building. Why don't we build a greenhouse? And something crazy happened after the greenhouse built. It's like all of a sudden there was a visible symbol. So this is something tangible that kids could actually walk into, and all of a sudden EcoVision exploded again. The future of EcoVision, I believe, is very bright. Students more than ever are wanting to make a difference. Students are discovering their passions, and I think because of all the programs we offer, it taps into a lot of passions across the spectrum of students as well. As long as I'm here, and as long as the students want to invest and follow their dreams and see them come to reality, I think EcoVision will thrive.
All right. Very cool. Amazing projects. Brock, Alexis, Tegan, I can only imagine if all schools had projects like that going on, what our planet would be like and how students would be growing up with a better, more empathy and a better sense of how their actions can impact our planet. So very cool. Thank you so much for sharing those with us. I'm going to bring the rest of our team back in. Let's get Emily back in here. Let's get Karishma back in here. We do have some questions in the chat, so we're going to work our way through a few of those questions. If you want to tackle this question and put a little something in, we can kind of have a couple of people answer each question maybe. So I think this is a really good question here. This is a question I think on a lot of students' minds. You know, they growing up, they want to have a part in environmental issues and change, but they're not seeing people around them notice. So why do you think not everybody is taking notice to these climate issues around us? Why are so many people able to kind of pass over them and not pay attention? Karishma, go ahead.
That's such a great question, and I think that it bothers me a lot too. So whoever asked that, you're definitely not alone. I think about that all the time. Like, why does this not bother anybody else? I think the truth is that there's a lot of immediate problems that probably bother people and are on people's minds, probably about maybe about, okay, maybe I have homework, or I have a job to go to, or I have bills to pay, or I have groceries to buy, right? Sometimes a problem like climate change and environmental problems that seem like they're so far in the future aren't always what we're immediately worried about. So I think when we do address this as environmental activists or environmentalists, it's important that we know who it is that we're talking to, and we try to empathize with what their problems might be and make sure that they feel seen, but also make the problem that you're talking about, environmentalism or climate change, how we can make it relevant to them, right? Maybe they're experiencing breathing issues from wildfire smoke. Maybe they're lamenting the fact that a forest near their house went down. Ask them what it is about the climate that they care about and try to make it really relevant to them. But I think that on a deep level, nature speaks to everybody. They just have to find what that is.
All right. Is there anyone who wants to add something to that? Brock, go ahead.
This is something we actually brought up recently, and one of the things that we concluded to is that one of the reasons why people might not be taking environmental action or might not even be aware of what's going on is because it's so sometimes it's just so hard to figure out like what's going on, because there is a lot of we're living in an age where you can easily find a lot of misinformation or disinformation about a lot of these very specific issues. And I guess sometimes it could be so tiring just trying to figure out what like who or what information you should believe from who or where you should get it from. And I think it also correlates back to like that can sometimes take a lot of work, and which circles back into, do I even have time for this? Because of all the other responsibilities we have in the day. And so I think misinformation and all that stuff mixed in with the actual stuff we should be talking about is very important to consider.
All right. Aylesbury Public School is joining us. Looks like a grade 6 class. So they've got a couple questions here. Let's grab one of them. So Ryan is wondering, you know, sometimes speaking up, sometimes being an activist, going against things that people like, can lead to negative feelings. So I guess maybe they're maybe voicing that they're a little worried that they might get pushback or people might get angry. So what would you say, Emily, to Ryan, who's thinking about that?
Yeah, that's a really valid and really real concern. Especially, you know, being an activist, being a change maker, you are going against the grain, right? You are highlighting issues that feel uncomfortable for people and they kind of don't want to hear about it, right? It goes against our everyday. So that's where I was kind of alluding to community. So you really need your people. And sometimes that can just be a really small group of friends. Sometimes it can be your parents. Sometimes, it can be a volunteer group that you're a part of, virtually or in person. Going back to them is a really nice kind of grounding for you, because you know that even in those difficult times where you probably will get pushback at some points, you have that grounding of people that back you and support you, who can be with you in those difficult times. It is a tough time in the sense of like social media. You can get a lot of pushback, on trying to have those conversations, difficult conversation about climate change. You can get pushback, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. There's many times in history where we've had to push back against the current day of what's normal. And there's a lot of people that feel comfortable in the current day of what's the normal thing, and politically, socially, environmentally, it was the right thing to do in those historical moments. We had to push back and speak our truth and speak about justice and speak about what's fair and right. And those people often didn't do it alone. Historical figures never really did it alone. They always had, their community to support them. So just because it's uncomfortable and it can be hard and you can get pushback doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. In fact, it means you might be doing the right thing. So just have your community of people behind you, and don't be scared to speak up, because we actually need people more than ever to speak up on these issues.
Thanks, Emily. Krishma, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think what Emily said was so spot on, that like you need your people. But I also think that you'll find people when you start speaking up, because you'll say things that other people might have been too scared to say, but they do agree with you, right? You might have people coming out of the woodwork saying, I actually really agree with you, and I'm glad you had the courage to speak up. And through that, you'll find new people and more people, because sometimes when you act as a mouthpiece and when you're brave enough to hold the loudspeaker, maybe other people who feel the same way start to join. They start to raise their hands and they start to join hands with you and say, actually, I agree with you.
All right. I've got another question here. Here's another. I mean, our students are thinking here. They're thinking about their futures. They're thinking about wanting to be involved. So this student here is wondering about, can you make a career of being an environmental activist? So can you make a living being an environmental activist? Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, I'll jump in and say yes, there are ways, but I'll also say there are, work as we've defined it, getting paid, is one track, but there is still work to be done that is often unpaid. There's a lot of people who work in our community who do so many good things for our community, who go unpaid. So this is volunteering. This is just being, somebody who's very involved in their community. So yes, there's paid jobs. There's also unpaid jobs. There are plenty of people who either do this part-time as a volunteer, do this in their off time as a volunteer. Often people who get into paid jobs, such as myself and others on this call, you have to go through a lot of volunteering first to get the paid jobs. But I will just say, it has changed a lot in my time, from kind of a few nonprofit jobs to now there are environmental consultants that work with big businesses. There are sustainable financiers in the finance world. There are the Youth Climate Corps, for example, is really pushing for this, around more jobs for youth that are building the kind of transition that we need around renewable energy and battery storage. Getting the technical expertise in those fields, that's going to be a growing industry, that globally and in Canada. And there are jobs, even if you're not technically inclined, people who work in communications, people who are community organizers, people who are good at talking, right? That can actually, who are the speakers to these issues, that both work on the corporate front and work in other sectors as well. So I would say that this is growing and only is going to grow. Some have the title of being an environmental manager and some don't. But whether you're in design or technical fields, or whether you're in communication fields or the arts, more and more and more of these kinds of jobs are happening in direct and indirect ways. But there's also a plethora of volunteer opportunities too.
Okay. Well, we are at that time. That hour flew by today. And I think it's because we had so many great speakers with so many great things to share and to say. Listening to you all really, gives hope. We hear so many doom and gloom stories on the news. We look around and we see damage in our home, hometowns and ecosystems around us. So really hearing stories about people trying to do something and make a difference and sharing their passions is really, really important. So I want to start out with a huge shout out to Emily, to Karishma, to Tegan, to Brock, to Alexis, and Mr. S. It was so great to have you with us and sharing your stories. A big shout out to all the classrooms who tuned in live today, who will tune in later. And a shout out, a big thank you for all the great questions you sent in as well. And of course, we have to say the same thing for Eco Schools Canada, who pulled this event together today. I want to share one more link here up on the website. If you want to learn more about Eco Schools, you can visit ecoschools.ca to find out all kind of information and ways you can take part, stories and things like that. But I think we're going to have to say goodbye for now. We still have a couple days for Earth Week left. So I hope everyone gets outside. I hope everyone's able to just do something. Pick up some litter off the ground. Tell someone something they learned today. Little actions can have a big impact. So thanks to everybody for joining today. And I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. We're going to sign off for now. Thanks, everyone.